So to begin with, let's say hippotherapy. Everybody would be knowing it's a Greek word. Hippo means horse and therapy means therapy. Now this has to be distinguished between therapeutic riding and hippotherapy. Therapeutic riding would be a general horse riding phenomenon which has its own therapeutic values. But hippotherapy is a specific therapy technique which is done under the guidance of a trained therapist and a trained horse. Okay. So in this entire process of hippotherapy, which has been found beneficial for children with cerebral palsy, children with autism spectrum disorder, people who have cardiovascular strokes and paralysis, this is done following a particular pattern. Let's say to NIPMED, children with cerebral palsy are quite in number and autism are quite in number. So I'll take these two examples to explain how I perceive hippotherapy as. Now, all we do for a child with cerebral palsy is we try mimicking certain movements which would be finally essential for the purpose to execute an end movement. It may be for walking, it may be for holding, it may be for throwing, it may be for moving something. If you see the way a horse walks and the way a human walks. Now when a human walks like this, then it will be front, back, sideways and a bit of rotation. Front, back, sideways and a bit of rotation. Now which therapy equipment in this world can mimic this? Nothing can mimic it. But if you ask the person to sit on a horse back and then see the movements, that will be the same. The horse will also be walking front, back, sideways and a bit of rotation. All three calibrated. So this three-dimensional movement is possible only if the person is riding a horse and the movement of the horse is controlled by the therapist. So the horse ride actually fantastically mimics the way a human gait is. Now this particular mimicking, how does it help? There is a concept which was given by Lev Vygotsky. He says that if we want to move from this therapy baseline to this therapy goal, then the more knowledgeable adult or the therapist would be going through this zone of proximal development in which he would be scaffolding or supporting the child in various number of ways. So if I want my child with cerebral palsy to gain gait, then naturally I have to stimulate the child in a way that the same movements are mimicked in his body. So the first thing which I find most interesting and crucial is mimicking the hip and the leg movements when similar to how we walk when the person is riding a horse. First. The second thing is that the moment I am sitting like this and I have to get up, I put a enormous amount of demand upon my core muscles for any such activities for movement. So when you are on a horse, when the horse walks, stops, the horse doesn't go steady. So you have to continuously monitor your core muscles and put a demand upon your core muscles that the body stability is maintained. So stimulating the core muscles happens very fundamentally well while we are on hippotherapy. Similarly, if I am running or if I am moving sideways, sometimes I have to stretch my left side muscles, sometimes I have to stretch my right side muscles and relax the left side muscles. So these stretching, alternate stretching, relaxing, stretching, relaxing, it can be very easily stimulated when the horse is going in circles. Which means that for hippotherapy, the horse has to be trained, the therapist needs to know what is to be done, and the child should be appropriately positioned so as to achieve the maximum benefits. This is about cerebral palsy a bit, which will be elaborated in the next sessions. As far as children with autism are considered, then if you see the movement issues in children with autism, then there is a lot of proprioceptive integration that needs to be done. This proprioceptive integration, where the joints, all the joints are made active at one stroke. Imagine when a child is sitting on a horse, how stimulating the entire ride would be so as to have the child position his entire set of joints in a way that he doesn't fall down, or he is in sync with the horse. The horse goes and he has to dynamically reposition his core muscles as well as the proprioceptive joint senses to be in sync with the horse. So a phenomenal amount of proprioceptive stimulation happens during hippotherapy. Furthermore, children with autism, having this confidence, having this particular sense that I can do this, it's not an easy thing, especially when children with autism, where everybody non-verbally, verbally would be showing what you can do, what you can do. The moment the child relates himself or herself with a horse, which is a living thing, the self-confidence of the child to maneuver in this world by manipulating people who are living increases. It is not just for children with autism, it's for children with cerebral palsy also, it's for other children with disabilities also. Thus, a occupation therapist can draw quite a bit from the horse. A speech therapist. Now, a speech therapist always requires a joint attention. A joint attention is there when the emotional state is hyped up. And I should be happy and excited to speak in this, only then I can deliver good. If I am not happy and excited, then I will just do it for formality purpose. The moment the child is on a horse, the excitement, because tip to toe, all the muscles, all the joints have to be stimulated. So the alertness which comes in the child, the excitement which comes in the child, gives a very good joint attention and an opportunity and a window for a speech language pathologist to initiate, maintain communication. So it will be related to the horse and the movement only, but to initiate, maintain and conclude communication. When the child is on the horse, the child would also be encouraged to communicate how he wants the horse to go, slow, fast, stop, trot or run, etc. etc. So a speech therapist, an occupation therapist, a speech therapist, a physiotherapist, all of them can derive many fundamental things through hippotherapy, provided we know the science of it and we know how to do it. So I once again wish all the best to the Department of Therapeutics, the Physiotherapy Division, for conducting the webinar on effects of hippotherapy in children with multiple disabilities, especially our Santosh Khanna sir, who is the keynote speaker, the moderator Mr. P. Arasu, the resource person Smith T. Arti. All of you have been doing a wonderful work, and I want a write-up so that we can re-initiate. We'll put a proposal here. We'll see how we can introduce hippotherapy. So we have horses. We did it earlier. The school was, Gadrevan sir was doing it earlier. The Sri Kavarsan Gehlot initiated it. You have seen this playground initiated, no? On the same day it was initiated. So we can again re-initiate it, not a problem. Try taking it up. Okay, all the best for the webinar, and I hope all of you enjoy and learn more about hippotherapy. And finally, Santosh Khanna sir and Arsuji, we are going to introduce this in NIPMED again, systematically. Okay? Best sir.
Yes.
Best sir.
So thank you, sir. Thank you.